Hey there, John.Hunter, and this week's topic is the cost of hiring real estate agents. Now, if you've been listening to the news at all, you've probably heard that there's a large class action lawsuit just settled with the National Association of Realtors for price fixing when it comes to real estate commissions. So, hey, the way realtors are being paid is going to be changing here in July, and here is what you need to know. So, the recent lawsuits appear to be upending this whole 6% commission rule of thumb that has been out there for decades. So, what NAR has agreed to as part of their settlement is to no longer list a buyer's agency commission as part of the listing agreement. They're no longer going to be offering that. So, when somebody lists a home, they're just going to negotiate with the realtor that is selling the house. The seller will agree to pay a realtor to represent themselves, and a buyer's realtor will be responsible for negotiating their own commission, which, oops, I just had to check the camera there. Wasn't sure the sound was on, but the buyer's agent is going to be responsible for negotiating their commission into the contract, or the buyers will be responsible for that commission. And that is where it sits right now. There's a lot of unanswered questions, though, because the reality of it is that sounds great for sellers, that they don't need to offer a commission to the buyer's agent anymore. But what does it do to the buyers who need an agent to help them find a home, that need that agent to tell them what to look for, what to offer, what's fair, what's not fair, how to protect them within that contract to make sure that they have a proper representation? That's a big deal to buyers, and new buyers especially, or in really competitive markets. So how we're going to be handling this going forward is the unforeseen thing. So a lot of realtors are kind of freaking out about this, and some are pretty excited about it. So it kind of depends on your outlook on this. But I do believe we're going to see a lot of news over that over the next couple of months when it kind of settles out. But the reality of it is there's a lot of uncertainty for buyers. I do believe there's a bunch of positives, though. I think the number one positive coming out of this is transparency. Washington State started an agency rule this year that every buyer who buys a home starting January 1 has to sign a buyer's agency agreement, understanding how their realtor is getting paid and understanding that ultimately they're responsible for that commission, which at this point, we're still seeing listings coming on with sellers agreeing to pay a buyer's agency commission. Now, when this rule takes effect, which is supposed to be in July, that will change. But until then, I think it's great, the transparency, just understanding what they're doing for you, how they get paid, the whole bit, because, there's a lot of value to that, I think, and they work really hard for it. It's something that I think is just overdue. A lot of buyers don't even understand how their realtor gets paid, and they don't care because they're not paying it. So this is changing that for sure. Now, the other thing we're going to see, and it's kind of actually always been out there to a degree, but it's more of an a la carte type service. Redfin does this a little bit, where they'll be like, we'll give you a discounted service, but we're only going to show you so many houses. And after that, you get charged per house that you look at. Sellers have that right now, where they can put their home on the market for a flat fee, but they don't get any help with the paperwork. They don't get any help with staging or photos or anything like that. You're on your own. So those type of a la carte services, although they've been around for a while, you're going to see that become much more of an option, where it's like, here's this commission for this, I'll do this versus this. So you want the full meal deal, it's going to cost you. So I do believe that the a la carte thing will help some people. If you're a sophisticated buyer, you know what you want, you found the house on your own, right? Let's just say you go and it's your neighbor's house, but you want some help with the paperwork. Boom. Now there is a set system, and most likely even be like a price scale for that. So I think that's a positive. It just gives more choice out there. There also will be fewer agents. There's a lot of part-time agents out there, people that got their license because they were themselves buying a house, or their mom was buying a house, or a relative was buying a house, and they get their license just to negotiate that one deal. Real estate these days is complicated. There's a lot of liability, and it's very difficult to do it well part-time. So I've been around for about 30 years. I've seen it all, and part-time agents, sometimes it can be a little rough. So there's going to be fewer agents with this agency agreement, because when, Aunt Betty wants to represent you and it doesn't cost you anything, it's not a big deal. But when you're paying $12,000 for representation, you're going to want somebody with some experience that does it as a day job. So I think the part-time agent thing is going to go away for the most part. So that isn't necessarily a negative. It'll leave the professional realtors that do it for a living day in and day out will be the people left standing here. So what are the negatives, right? The negatives are a lot of confusion, right? Buyers are going to be thinking, oh my God, I had to come up with all this money for a down payment and closing costs. Now I've got to pay the realtor an extra $12,000 to $20,000. I don't have it. How am I supposed to do that? And then buying a house, not knowing what you're doing and not knowing, oh, am I buying a house with asbestos? Am I buying a house with water issues or pest issues? Or God forbid, there's just a laundry list of stuff that realtors help people through all the time and give them good advice. And am I offering the right amount? Am I competitive? In competitive markets, a good realtor was worth weight in gold. Getting your offer, if you've been in a bidding situation and you've gotten your offers denied over and over again, having a quality realtor who can negotiate, that knows how to dial that offer in and give you your fighting chance to get your offer accepted is huge. And it's hard to put a dollar on that, but but it's real. And if you're a buyer and you're responsible for that commission, that's the confusion. And I think that a lot of that'll is a barrier of entry, I think, for the most vulnerable of our society, whether it be low income, might be minorities, or first-time homebuyers in general. It doesn't matter. There will be people that find this rule to be cumbersome, and there will be unintended consequences that hurt people, and that's a real downside. The unintended consequences is a big one. There's so much that this will affect, and we don't even see it yet. So here they are trying to protect consumers, and in the end, they may harm the most vulnerable consumers. So we'll see how this rule comes out, though, because it's not set in stone, right? This doesn't actually take effect till July. The court has not had a final ruling on this. None of this is set in stone. This is just the idea. Now, as a lender, how does that affect us, right? So what we're going to be seeing in the reality of this is that now, sure, homes are not going to be listed with a buyer's agency included, but I've heard from several realtors that they feel like what we'll probably be seeing is homes listed with comments in there saying up to 2 or 3% concessions available. They're going to use code language basically to let an agent know, hey, bring me a buyer and I'm willing to, let's make a deal. And there's going to be that verbiage in there. So good quality realtors are embracing this. They believe that this will set them apart. This will actually be a positive in the long run. And I can't really disagree with that. I think in the end, I think we'll see this as a win for buyers and sellers alike. I think that the transparency, like I said before, is going to be huge. So I think we're going to be being built into the price, right? And then actually today, I just said a few minutes ago that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac made an announcement, which is kind of a non-announcement. They basically said, hey, we're aware of these changes and we have not decided what we're going to do yet. So at this point, if the commission's not included and the buyer has to pay it, they have to have the money to pay it, or they have to negotiate it into the price. So we may see a rule here. We may see a rule change. And this is what I'm anticipating, that I believe, and this is me speculating, that we will see for some buyers, first-time home buyers, median income or low to moderate income people, I believe that we're going to see some flexibility here where we'll see the lenders they'll say, okay, you're putting 3% down, we'll let you finance up to X amount in commissions for certain buyers. I think we're going to see that. We already see that in a lot of cases. There's precedent for this. For first-time homebuyers, they allow some buyers to get grants that increase the loan to value to cover closing costs and other costs, or there's what they call community seconds that they allow to go above what the actual price is. That's not uncommon. FHA finances their FHA mortgage insurance premium above their minimum, and VA finances their VA funding fee above that. So to say that there might be a rule change allowing certain buyers to roll in those closing costs, I would not be surprised if we saw that at all, especially for minimum down first-time home buyers that are low and moderate income. So I would expect that change, but I wouldn't expect Fannie or Freddie to do anything very quickly. And they certainly won't do anything until this rule is set in stone by the judge and it becomes enacted. So what's the point, right? If they make any ruling now, it could actually affect the court case and they won't do that. So we shall see. There's that uncertainty again. But I don't think there's anything to be afraid of. I think at this point, it's business as usual. Like I said, this doesn't take effect until July. And I think even once it does, I think, like I said, working with a high quality realtor that is professional, does it for a living, is going to be the new rule of thumb. And that's actually going to be really good for everyone involved. So, hey, I hope this helps, guys. I'm going to update you as much as I can. Any information I get on this, I will share it immediately. It'll be kind of exciting to see how it all works out. The interesting thing about it is they talk about it as price fixing, right? And that's what they're trying to avoid. But you know what? Real estate commissions have always been negotiable. It's never been a flat 6%. It's always been up for negotiation, and people have negotiated that from the day one. Builders routinely don't pay full 6% commission. Happens all the time. So real estate commissions have always been negotiable. This is no different. This is just lawyers getting involved and complicating things. I do think some of the outcomes, like I said, transparency, buyer's agency agreement is all positive. But in the end, I think the market will adjust and how we do business will just not be business as usual anymore. And it'll settle out. But it is in the seller's best interest to offer a quality commission. And it is in the buyer's best interest to have representation. Hey, like, subscribe. Would love to hear from you. Got content like this every week.